How is everybody doing? Positive and productive, I hope. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me. Hey, do me a favor and share the content with friends, family, anybody that you think the content is relevant to. Remember, local elections are more important than national elections, but dollars are stronger than votes. They won't stop until we stop them. Liberation comes at a cost. Who's willing to pay for it? Ladies and gentlemen, this just came across my feed, and I haven't even done a lot of research on this yet. But I just want to know what you guys propose. What do you guys think of this proposal? What are the ramifications of it? What does this mean to you as an American, as a person here in America? Maybe you're not American. I don't know, and I'm going to do something about the super birthright citizenship, or the I forgot the super tourist burst. I forgot exactly what they're calling it, but we already know, like, China was coming over. They were sending like tourists over here to specifically give birth in American soil. Therefore, the children would be American nationals. They would take them home, indoctrinate them with their ideologies, but then bring them back as Americans with all fundamentals of Americans, or actually everything that are afforded of Americans, but none of the fundamental values of being an American. Therefore, they could overthrow our government and different things. Well, now that's been superseded, and, or I guess, put on steroids, because, and I don't want to spoil too much, but now what it's saying is that Chinese oligarchs, millionaires, and billionaires are now paying thousands of surrogates to do this specifically. And you have 4 or 5 guys who are utilizing sperm banks to impregnate thousands of women, and then have these women be American citizens, but yet take them back to China, etc., etc. Neither here nor there. I just tell you guys it's somewhere. Maybe it's on X, maybe it's on Rumble. Hopefully you're subscribed. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Trump administration bars non-citizens from small business loans. Jesus. Now, some people are going to say, well, Choosta, you can't say that that's not racist. He's saying if you're not a citizen, you can't get a business loan from the federal government. That has to be inherently racist, discriminatory, bigotrous, something along those lines. It just has to be. It says it in the name, because we're excluding people based on what now are we excluding people? Are we excluding people specifically because of their creed, their religion, and or orientation? Or are we excluding people simply because their nationality is not the nationality that this should be reserved for? I don't know. I'm posing these questions, ladies and gentlemen, because it seems like we're very polarized on this topic. But let's read a little bit in this, because I don't even have the whole thing, and this is just a little bit from Axios. And then shout out to Jason Laji. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know, Jason. So, really quickly, the Small Business Administration will now block all non-U.S. citizens or nationals from the agency's primary 7A loan program. The big picture. The SBA's move and President Trump's broader, expansive targeting of immigrants underscores the administration's attempts to curtail economic opportunities for non-citizens. And I can't read the rest because I'm not subscribed to Axios. But here's the thing, though. So they're telling you that this is that this is this administration and Trump's broader, expansive at targeting of immigrants. So is he targeting immigrants? Because here's the thing, you have 2 types of immigrants, right? For sake of purpose, let's just say you have a documented immigrant and you have an undocumented immigrant. So now, does this exclude, I would want to know, does this exclude uh, uh, documented immigrants and or undocumented immigrants? Or does it exclude all? So it says will now block all non-U.S. citizens. Now let's look into this. What is the 7A loan program? Let's do that, right? Let's do the 7A loan program. What is the 7A loan program, ladies and gentlemen? And then we'll just right here, bam. Let me show you guys how to work Google. Some of you guys don't even know how to work Google. So the SBA 7A loan program is the Small Business Administration's flagship initiative for providing financial assistance to small businesses. It offers government-backed guarantees to private lenders, reducing their risk and making it easier for businesses to secure funding for almost any legitimate business purpose. Eligibility requirements. To qualify, a business must be an operating for-profit entity located in the United States or its territories, meet the SBA small business size standards based on industry-specific revenue or employee count, demonstrate creditworthiness and the ability to repay from business cash flow. Show that credit is not available elsewhere on reasonable terms. New 2026 policy effective February 2026. Eligibility is restricted to businesses owned by U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents. You see, just a little bit of research right there. So even from Axios, it did say all non-U.S. citizens, but now just right here per Google, right? Per Google, it says the new policy effective February 2026 eligibility is restricted to businesses owned by U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents. So if you're so I don't know if that goes for a green card or not. I'm not really sure how that works when you have a green card, or does that grant permanent alien statusy or a resident alien? So is a resident alien does that differentiate than a legal alien, or I don't know. I honestly don't know. So, and I'm not going to make you guys think that I know it all. What I will say is this, because my thing mainly pertains to this. I want to protect Americans, and I don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say that I don't want to protect all people, and all people don't deserve rights. That's not the conversation. The conversation is now we're talking about federal government funds that have been allocated via taxation of American people. Should that money be allocated to now help out more Americans, or just help out anybody abroad, anybody with an open hand? Or should the money primarily go to Americans? Well, to answer that question, I've always said this for a very long time. I think that the government should prioritize American citizens first. That now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't make a 7B program, right? Or a 7C program, but the 7A should be specifically for Americans. And then maybe we have another program that's for immigrants. Now, here's the thing. I don't think as an undocumented immigrant, you really should be afforded almost any rights. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have human rights and that you're not a human and you shouldn't be treated with dignity and respect. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that if you don't have permission and or authorization to be in a country or a territory of said country, commonwealth, or jurisdiction, I don't believe that country owes you or should afford you any rights that are not just basic. Hey, you're bleeding, you're about to die, like Hippocratic oath type shit. If you don't, and here's the thing, I don't think that we should if you come into the country and you don't have permission to be here, I don't think we should afford you a lawyer, especially if you don't speak our language. Now we have to provide you an interpreter and different things like that. Well, Choosta, it creates jobs. It does create jobs, but it also raises taxes, right? It does that too. So I hate when you guys say something creates jobs, but then it's like, well, who pays for these jobs? Where does that funding come from? Where does that funding come from? And we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to have these conversations and discussions. So, because I remember I did a story that there was something called a warming bus in Chicago, and these warming buses were reserved for homeless people. And it didn't say that American homeless or non-American. It just said homeless people, right? Is what the buses were reserved for. But then fast forward, for whatever reason, somehow that got hijacked and the buses were reserved specifically for refugees and immigrants. And then we did the story of the American veteran who got hypothermia and frostbite and had to get his toes amputated because he was denied access to the warming buses that were supposed to be reserved for all homeless people, right? You understand how that goes? So why is it that Americans, when it's things that are supposed to be reserved for all Americans, get the short end of the stick? And then you say, no, it's okay, reserve it specifically for them. But then when I say, okay, I want to reserve something specifically for Americans, because if I make it for everybody, then it's not going to be for Americans. But then you say, no, Choosta, that's racist. Oh, no, you can't do that. That's bigotry. Do you guys know right now Mexico is actually doing something very similar to what the United States and ICE is doing, which is deporting all illegal immigrants in their country right now? Mexico is actively doing that right now. They're deporting Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, Ecuadorians, Nicaraguans, etc., right now, actively. That's what Listen, watch this. Is Mexico actively doing deportations? It's probably not going to hear me because I'm talking to you, so we'll just type it in. See, a lot of people want to do stuff in real time. As of February 2026, Mexico is actively conducting and facilitating deportations through a combination of its own domestic enforcement in cooperation with U.S. repatriation efforts. Mexico's active enforcement, mass removals. The Mexican government under President Claudia Sheinbaum, that sounds like a Jewish name, neither here nor there, has reportedly started mass deportations of undocumented migrants, particularly the Central American countries like Guatemala via bus convoys and direct flights. Increased military presence. Approximately 10,000 National Guard troops remain deployed at Mexico's northern and southern borders to intercept and detain migrants. Transit restrictions. Mexico has increasingly restricted access to humanitarian visas that previously allowed migrants to transit the country towards the U.S. borders. Cooperation with U.S. deportations. Third country transit. Mexico acts as a transit point for the U.S. to deport non-Mexican migrants such as those from Cuba, Venezuela, or Nicaragua back to their home countries, though through Mexican territory, accepting returnees. In the first year of the current U.S. administration, beginning January 2025, Mexico received over 150,000 deportees from the United States, including thousands of third country nationals. Repatriation flights. The U.S. has significantly increased ICE deportation flights into Mexico, often landing in southern cities like Tapachula and Villahermosa, to keep migrants away from the northern border. Infrastructure and conditions. So, would you like to know more on this? So Mexico is doing it. Like I told you, they're deporting the Nicaraguans, and this even said Cubans too. The Nicaraguans, the Venezuelans, the El Salvadorians, the Ecuadorians. El Salvadorians don't even be in Mexico like that. They already know. Like, them niggas don't fuck with us. They already know that. But again, neither here nor there. So here's the thing. This is what I'm saying. So, well, Choosta, this is the land of migrants. This is the land of opportunity. This is the land of. So why do you get to pick and choose and say what this is the land is? Because then if I say you are correct, I will concede that point. It's the land of milk and honey. It's the land of migrants. It's the land of everything you said. But you know what you didn't include? You didn't include this is also the land of rules, laws, and regulations. You didn't include that. We are a country of laws. And that's why you know what really makes this country so great, ladies and gentlemen, realistically. And I troll you guys and I play around with a lot of different topics, but do you know what makes this country so great? Is that one, our Constitution is a living and evolving thing. Number one, some of the best things for humans, for the sanctity of humans, has been put in our Constitution. I ain't saying other people's Constitution don't got good shit in it. It got some good stuff in there. But overall, when you just look at like, damn, like that's some good shit right there. Our Constitution, bar none. bar none. I mean, it's the archetype. I'm trying to explain something to you guys. Y'all don't want to understand it. No, Choosta, people don't love America because, no, okay, well, I tell you what. Tell me where else in the world can you sneak into the country and you don't have permission to be there, and then you tell that government that you need some free stuff and they'll give it to you? Where else in the world do they do it? Oh, well, choose to the Scandinavian governments, they do that too. They do that. Yes. You know what they do? They do it for their citizens, and they do it for people who follow the rules of refugee statuses and enter into a port of entry. They do it there. That means you have permission to be into the country. You didn't just wake up one day and you were just here. And, well, where'd you come from? Oh, I came in. I came in. And why is it when we're having this immigration conversation, the loudest kids in the room are the Mexicans? Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Why? I just want to know. I just want to know. And just to throw insult to injury really quickly, because people keep saying, well, nobody wants to do the job that the Hispanics are doing, that the Mexicans are doing. Nobody wants to be out there picking fruit in the summertime. Well, I beg to differ, ladies and gentlemen, because do you know in California they pay watermelon pickers about $25 to $35 an hour? Do you know that? See, y'all don't remember that Cesar Chavez had already did a whole bunch of shit back in the 70s and 80s for the fruit workers. Y'all, and for the farm workers and migrants. Y'all don't remember that. See, this is why y'all don't remember that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King didn't want our people to be called colored people, and that's why y'all embrace being called people of color. See, y'all don't remember these different things. And your goofy ass will get on Temu and try to buy a flux capacitor, but don't even want to give a shout out to the DeLorean, right? Again, neither here nor there. I just age myself sometimes. And then you'll say, well, what is he talking about? And I'll just say, it's nothing. It's just shit from Shinola. I tell you, one day I told this to a girl, said, you don't know shit from Shinola. Don't talk to me like that. She said, I do know shit from Shinola. I said, well, what is Shinola? She said it was old cooking oil. I said, no, stupid. That's not what Shinola was. Canola is cooking oil, stupid. Shinola was old shoe polish, and it looked like shit. That's why we say you don't know shit from Shinola. But again, it's neither here nor there. See, I'll tell you about a lot of these different things and where they come from and why we say these different things, right? So now, why is as an American, and that's all I'm going to just preface it is. Why, when I say as an American, why do I need to add a nationality? Excuse me. Why, when I tell you my nationality as an American, do I have to now add my ethnicity? Why do I need to tell you that I'm black, that I'm Hispanic, that I'm Asian, that I'm etc., etc.? Why can't I just tell you that I'm American? Why doesn't the conversation stop right there, ladies and gentlemen, as an American? And that's the conversation. Because now we understand that we're playing the game us versus them. And then when we say, well, listen, we're not getting enough resources for everyday Americans, but then you tell me nobody wants to do the jobs Americans or that the Hispanics or the migrants are doing. So you tell me you wouldn't pick fruit for $25 or $35 an hour. You telling me you wouldn't do that, ladies and gentlemen, even though we already know that the mass majority of fruit that's picked in the United States is actually done by mechanized and automated equipment. Again, neither here nor there. It's almost like the glass ceiling and the abortions myth, right? When they say, oh, well, we need abortions for the rape victims and the incest victims, even though that makes up less than 1% of abortions. Less than 1% combined. Rape and incest make up for less than 1% of abortions annually. But this is the reason why we need to do it, right? Same thing with COVID. Even though it's killing less than 1% of the population who already have underlying health conditions, no, we have to do this for everybody, right? We have to do this for everybody. So even though Americans need resources, no, you know what I need to do? What I must do now, ladies and gentlemen, I need to make it so that people who don't even have permission to be here can get the same thing that you get. It's almost like a participation trophy, ladies and gentlemen. So what is the reason that we went 7 for 2 and you went 0 for 86 and we both got the same trophy and pizza party? Why did I get the accolades then? What is my achievement then? What do I get that separates me apart from you when you don't do what I do, ladies and gentlemen? These are the fundamental questions that I'm asking. But you don't have the answers to these questions. You know what you tell me? You say, well, what would Jesus do, Choosta? You know what Jesus would do? Do you really know what Jesus would do? No, I don't. But we can read some of the books and we can read some of the manuscripts and we can maybe assume and take a guess. What's the difference between a guess and a hypothesis? Well, choose the hypothesis is a guess. Okay, well then why is one called a guess and one called a hypothesis? Why we make a different word if it's just the same damn thing? Do you know why? Because one is an educated guess. See, y'all don't know this, right? Because you don't have education. You do not have education, ladies and gentlemen. What you do is you have a whole bunch of random click bites of knowledge, of headline knowledge, information, and then you attribute that as wisdom. Because here's the thing, I'm not going to tell you that it's not knowledge, because you do have some factual correct information, but again, it's just a headline. But do you know what happens when you apply knowledge? Knowledge applied is wisdom, but knowledge unapplied is stupidity. Oh shit. Oh shit. Hold on. Hold on. See, I'm actually about to take y'all back one time, right? Hang on, Marty. Hang on, Marty. We're going to go back to the future. That means we've been there before. If I take you back to the future, that means we had to have previously been there. But did we actually go there already? Or if it's just the future, that means we went there already in the past. Which one is it? But again, you guys don't know this, right? Which is why Malcolm X, I just did a segment on it. Malcolm X told you the white liberal is the most dangerous and detrimental thing in the Western Hemisphere. Why do we want to quote the black leaders? Why do we want to say black power, black excellence, black this, black that, but then we don't want to do what the fucking black leaders told us? The white liberal is the most dangerous and cunning thing in the Western Hemisphere. Do you understand that, ladies and gentlemen? Now, he did go on to say that the white conservative and the white liberal both use the Negro as a political, as a pawn or a political football in this game. He did say that, and especially at that day, because we didn't have as many rights as we do now to participate in the political climate. So it's not the same as it was then. The reason why they were just utilizing us as political pawns or as a football, punting us from back and forth, because we didn't have a say or a stake in the claim. There were no stakeholders. But now we co-opted by motherfuckers like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Roland Martin. These is the niggas y'all listening to. These is the niggas y'all listening to. Y'all listening to Cardi B. So explain this to me, ladies and gentlemen. Explain this to me, ladies and gentlemen. Why is it, and Cardi B didn't even hold Joe Biden's feet to the fire, but he apologized for Robert Byrd and Strom Thurmond and all those guys. He apologized, right? He apologized. Now I tell you what, I do agree with mandatory minimum prison sentences. Y'all niggas want to sell crack and fentanyl, stupid. We're gonna lock your stupid ass up. You break the rules, we're gonna lock you up, stupid. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. But why is it this? Because think about it. No. Don't run from it. Don't run from it. Think about it. Why is it that over 35 years later, we incarcerated Bill Cosby for slipping? Well, I don't know what he put in a drink. Was it a Quaalude? She'll love me in the morning. I don't know. I don't know what he put in their drinks. But all I do know is that it happened over 30 years ago. And he admitted to providing drugs to people who wanted drugs. But yet we incarcerated him because people said that, well, I didn't want the drugs and I don't know what he did and I didn't want the pudding pop. So, okay, if you didn't want me to play in your pudding pop, I don't know why you introduced me to your dad and you came over here scantily clad at 2 a.m. in the morning. I was listening to a show the other day and he said girls shouldn't go outside scantily clad. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an American and I can tell when you were raised by foreigners. Now, I know the difference between being raised by people who are illiterate and don't really speak English and don't read. I understand the difference, but I also understand the difference of people who try to learn English and try to read, but they just don't speak it as their primary language. Listen to me, Mother Beach. You listen to me, Mother Beach. But anyway, so right, he said scantily clad, and I understand that is a thing, but it's scantily clad. But neither here nor there, right? Neither here nor there. So, but listen. So why did Bill Cosby have to go to jail, right? Bill Cosby went to jail because he provided some quaaludes. Maybe it was a Red Devil. Maybe it was Dilaudid. I don't know. I don't know what they were, right? I don't know. But this is what I'm saying. How come Cardi B admitted to putting drugs in men's drinks and then having transgender people perform sexual acts on them, record these acts without their permission, and then blackmail them and extort them for money? But yet Cardi B's walking free, ladies and gentlemen. So why did we wait 30 years to get Bill Cosby when he never admitted to understanding that he actually did anything wrong? Because, hey, I thought we were partying and everybody just liked cocaine and pills and stuff back in the day. And that was just what we was doing. Never gave nobody nothing that they didn't ask for. So why did we lock Bill Cosby up, but yet Cardi B did something to somebody that nobody asked for? I didn't want the drugs, Cardi. I didn't want a transgender to peg me, to do whatever the hell they did to me. I didn't want that, Cardi B. No, I didn't. No, Nasty Nate, I don't want to go to the love jungle. No, leave me alone. I don't want to go to the love jungle. But yet Cardi B was recording transgenders doing stuff to men and then blackmailing them for money and extorting them and bribing them. But yet Cardi B still walking free, right? Cardi B still free. So understand what I'm trying to explain to y'all. This is what I'm trying to say. So right now, understand. Oh, well, Choosta, Trump is this and Trump is that. No, Trump, no. We don't have any. So first and foremost, I hate the fact that we live in a world where people would just accuse anybody of anything. With like, we live in a world, like, see, it has to be, remember the little boy who cried wolf? There has to be rules and repercussions for people who say you did something when you didn't do it. Now, I could understand if I thought you did it and you didn't do it, because there's a difference between between getting it wrong and lying, right? I could have thought it was you and it wasn't, and I'm not lying. I actually thought it was you, but it actually wasn't you. And then I could just be saying I think it's you, even though I know it wasn't you. You see the difference? Do y'all see the difference, ladies and gentlemen? Because we have people, rest in peace, Emmett Till. Because we have people, Carolyn Bryant, right? Even though we did the anti-lynching bill, also aka the Emmett Till bill, and Carolyn Bryant was still alive, and she admitted that she lied, which led to Emmett Till getting bludgeoned and what happened to the young man, right? She lied and she admitted to it, but yet we didn't go back and get her and send her to jail. But yet again, how many times do I have to tell you that we will go back and send black leaders, men, people in powerful positions for doing things? And I'm not excusing their behavior. That's not what I'm doing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not doing that. But what I am saying is that how come we are selective in our outrage and that who we pick and choose from, ladies and gentlemen? Why is it that if I get 3 DUIs as an American citizen, more than likely I'm going to do a prison sentence? But yet, rest in peace, Lincoln Riley, the man who killed her, had over 2 and 3 DUIs, ladies and gentlemen, and he had other felonious charges. So why is it, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I don't understand. And now that we're on this topic of ICE, because you know what, I've been talking a long time and my drink is getting hot. Don't act like you don't like ICE. You act like Ice Cube wasn't your favorite rapper, like you didn't like listening to Ice-T. And we all like Ice-T. You telling me you don't enjoy Arnold Palmer? Ladies and gentlemen, let's stop being facetious here. Let's stop being facetious. Can we please? Can we please? So let's stop acting like we don't. You mean to tell me that you were a child in the 80s and you were not singing Ice Ice Baby? Do you mean to tell me that, ladies and gentlemen? So you cannot placate me and act like you don't know what's really going on. So when I tell you these things are happening, you have to really understand that you know what I'm talking about, okay? So now, let's get to the bottom of this really quickly. Let's get to the bottom of this. Because like I said, I need to put a little bit of ice in my drink. It's getting hot right now. So now, if you really want to get to the meat and potatoes of the whole situation, let's be for real. I will listen. This is why I win arguments. This is why you guys can't beat me in a debate, because I will concede your point, because your points are moot. That's what they are. It's all moot points. I'm going to concede it. You are right. ICE doesn't need to be running through our neighborhoods and our jurisdictions and rounding people up. That's not what ICE needs to be doing. You're 1,000% right. So guess what? You know what that means? You need to contact your representative and your congressman, and you need to tell them to allow ICE and DHS to go into the jails so that when people don't have documentation, citizenship, social security numbers, or their fingerprints have a problem. Oh, we'll have to edit some of these out. We'll have to, but no worries. So I can continue the car and the play, and you know how it goes. So what you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to tell your local state representative, DHS, to allow DHS and ICE, tell your congressman that we want them to be able to go into the jails. We don't want ICE in our streets, rounding people up, shooting people, doing what they're doing, right? That's what we don't want. We don't want ICE in our streets. Okay, so you know what that means? That means when somebody commits a crime and the local PD and sheriffs have them in custody, they don't need to let them go. When they're in the jail, they need to let ICE come and get them. Oh, you didn't know that was happening, huh? Oh, so you didn't know what it meant to be in a sanctuary city. You didn't know that when somebody get caught for beating their wife, when somebody get caught for sex crimes against children, when somebody gets caught for a lot of these atrocities and they're non-American citizens, oh, you didn't know that your local government doesn't call ICE and say, hey, we have an illegal person here that committed crimes. Do you want to come pick them up? You didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that when ICE and DHS and Homeland Security call your local sanctuary cities and say, hey, we want to come to your jails to look and see if we have violent criminals in your jails that are non-citizens. Do you know that they say, no, you can't come in our jails. We're not working with you. Oh, you didn't know that, huh? You didn't know that, did you? But you know what you do know? You know what you know? I'm going to tell you what you know. You know that Donald Trump told you to drink bleach, huh? That's what you know, right? But you can't show me a video. You know that Dr. Fauci told you to wear a mask, and that mask stopped the transmission of coronavirus, huh? You know that, right? You know that, right? But do you know that the World Health Organization first told you don't take resmenivir and hydroxychloroquine, and besides bed rest and sun and water, those are the most prescribed medicines for COVID? You know that, right? Oh, antimicrobials, antiviral. Oh my God. But when we were saying this at the very beginning, you took my YouTube channel away and you called me. You said it was misinformation when I told you this. So when I got Dr. Maria Van Kerkhove to tell you that there have been promising results for the use of ivermectin, you told me that was misinformation, even though I didn't said it. The lead technical physician for the World Health Organization said it, but you telling me it's misinformation when your people said it. I don't understand it. So now let me get this straight. We're supposed to sing Kumbaya. So now let me understand. I want to sing Kumbaya with you. So then when I ask you, should I allow my 12-year-old to smoke a cigarette? You tell me no. Am I crazy? Should I allow my 12-year-old to get a tattoo? You say, are you insane? And then when I say, okay, cool. So then I shouldn't allow them to cut their penis off. And you say, well, that's different. Well, I don't understand. Explain to me how that's different. Explain to me how my little girl, you can tell her she needs to cut off her titties and she needs to take her coochie and make a pee-pee at 12 years old, and that's fine. But then if that same 12-year-old said I wanted a tattoo or I want to drink some alcohol, you tell me that they don't know what they're doing. And now what you're telling me, when these same 12-year-old, 18-year-old, 21-year-old people make a decision, you say, well, their mind isn't developed, Choosta. Your mind isn't fully developed until 25. So technically, they're still children because their mind isn't developed. And I say, okay, so then when they're 12 years old and they want to cut off their pee-pee because they think they could be a little girl, then I say, no, their mind's not developed. And you tell me I'm a bigot and I don't know what I'm talking about. So which one is it? I want to hold hands. I want to sing Kumbaya. I want to do it. I promise you, I want to do it because I used to go to camp. I promise you, it wasn't band camp, and no, nobody did anything crazy with flutes or different things of that nature. But what I am saying is I remember we were at camp and there was a fire, and then they were chestnuts roasting, and we were holding hands and we were singing Kumbaya. I remember that, ladies and gentlemen. I remember that my grandfather read I remember that my grandfather read in the Bible that when you see a rainbow, that is the promise that God made to the world that he will never flood it again, ladies and gentlemen. And so that we embrace the rainbow because that's God showing his grace and his mercy upon us. But now when I want to hold your hand and we're going to embrace this rainbow because we know God is shining down on us, I can't hold your hand and with this rainbow in it because now you're going to whisper something crazy in the child's ear. And I don't agree with that. Because when I wore the rainbow, I'm going to tell the kid that Jesus loves you and that he's going to do everything for humanity because we are his greatest creation and he made us perfect. That's what I'm going to tell the child. But when you wear the rainbow, you're going to tell the child that he could be anything that he want to be, and that if he's a boy, he could be a girl, and that even though he ain't got no ovaries, that he could possibly get pregnant one day. And you're telling this little girl that even though she got two X's, she don't need a Y, that maybe she could actually impregnate somebody. That's what you're telling these children, ladies and gentlemen. So no, we're not going to sit down. We're not going to hold hands. We're not going to sing Kumbaya. And then what you're telling me is, because now I have to go talk to Lincoln Riley's father, not literally, but figuratively. Now all the people, because listen, you're going to say, well, Choosta, the ICE is shooting people and it's the Gestapo and they're doing this and doing that. Again, if your government's allowed them to go and get into the jails, they could just already get criminals. And then we would see what would be happening on these different things. But why is it these people who commit multiple crimes live on and go free to commit more crimes? And then when I say I want to do something about it, you label me a bigot. You label me xenophobic. You tell me I'm all these words that you've probably never even heard and don't really know the full definition of, and it's okay. I'll embrace it because I was always growing up to be told sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, right? So you think as an adult calling me a name is going to hurt me, and I'm like, hey, I'm an adult. Even when I was a kid, words didn't hurt. So I don't understand why as an adult you think you calling me a name is going to hurt me or offend me or insult me, right? When you're the person who's calling me a name and you actually think that a boy can be a girl. So I understand who I'm talking to. Do you understand who you're talking to? But this is why you'll argue with your boss, right? Because your boss is just going to simply say, hey, you know what? I don't have to deal with your attire and your purple hair and you coming in late and all these different things. You know what? I could just tell you that you're fired. And then you can say, oh, no, you can't fire me because that's discrimination and that's this and that's that. Well, you can say what you think. You can say what you think. But guess what? Don't come in here tomorrow because we're going to have the police in here and they're going to escort you off the premises. So, ladies and gentlemen, preserving the sanctity of American values, economics, education, socioeconomics, preserving these things specifically for Americans should not be inherently a radical idea. This should not be fringe, ladies and gentlemen. That's almost like saying if you only had a limited budget that you would preserve and reserve this money specifically for your household, for your family and children. But no, so now I beg to differ that if anybody just shows up at your house and they need something, then you should just give it to them, right? Just let them have it. They should just be able to show up. Matter of fact, don't even lock your door. Don't, matter of fact, because we have borders, right? We don't even need doors, right? People could just make a hole in your wall and just come into your house at any given side and do anything they want to do, right? Because America's my home. America's my home. This is where I live. And I have so much skin in this game, blood, sweat, and tears on my maternal and paternal side, ladies and gentlemen, on both sides. I was just talking with my father the other day, and he was talking about his grandfather who was in World War I and various things of that nature. And he was telling me about his mother's father who was doing something down with the Seminoles, and the various things with the blacks and the natives and the whole fight with that before we had something called a $5 Indian. Y'all don't understand that, so that's why I look at a lot of these people. You ain't nothing but a Mexican who just speak a different language, but it's cool. Don't get mad at me, go get mad at your peoples. You feel me? Y'all should have fought back. But that's what we doing, and y'all mad that we fighting back, and that's what they're trying to make us do. They're trying to make us not do what they did as Americans, right? Americans, we have a genuine spirit of fight in us, and we have to bring that back. We got to stop fighting with each other. We have to embrace what it is to be American again, because divide and conquer, even though it's one of the oldest tricks in the book, is still working. Listen, and I know that they had other professions. I hate when people say, well, prostitution is the oldest profession. So you mean to tell me before somebody ever sold a fur, a fish, a arrow, a spear, before somebody ever sold anything, a bitch sold some ass? That was the first thing that was getting sold, was some pussy? Get the fuck out of here. I think motherfuckers wanted food and warmth and resources before they wanted some sex for sale. I'm gonna just keep it real, because you got to think at that time they didn't even have rules and regulations. If motherfuckers wanted sex, they took it, right? If they wanted stuff, they took it. But and the only reason why they didn't take it was because you could fight for it and keep it. I always tell people it doesn't matter what you got; it only matters what you could keep. You feel me? I think Lil Wayne said it best. He said it doesn't matter what he said. He said it don't matter what you get. It matter what you walk away with. Something to the effect that I butchered it. It doesn't matter. I butchered it. But again, ladies and gentlemen, it's neither here nor there. I tell you guys it's somewhere. Maybe it's on X, maybe it's on Rumble. Hopefully you guys are subscribed, and if you rock with me to the end of this, please do me a favor and copy and paste this one. Throw me a purple heart in the comment. You ain't even got to say nothing, but my algorithm really loves purple hearts. I don't know why, but if you drop a purple heart, it will recommend this video to other people that are like-minded and that possibly want to see the content. Also, share this content on whatever social media that you're most interactive on. If you're primarily on Facebook, we'll copy and paste it, share it on Facebook. If you're on TikTok, Twitter, put the link or whatever on TikTok, Twitter, etc., etc. That also extends the reach in the algorithm to where now the algorithm starts to recommend my videos and my content to more people. I'm going to start doing more frequent videos and at a more frequent rate. I got a lot of stuff built up in the back channels, but I don't post as frequently as I need to, because if you guys do know me, what I am doing right now is I'm employing about 7 to 8 men. I got some women working for me now too, but I want to say 7 to 8 men. I've employed them in gainful employment. Now it's temporary employment, but it's gainful employment, one where they get a lot of experience doing certain things, and they make a substantial amount of pay doing what they're doing in a certain period of time. And they get to rub elbows and meet people that they probably otherwise would not have had privy to meeting these people. So now they're getting the rapport and acquaintanceships made. So it's a trifecta of a lot of different things that are beneficial for these different things that I'm doing right now, which is why I don't post as frequently. So while I'm not posting, make sure you guys are revisiting my post. And then if you call yourself a content creator, a space host, or anybody like that, how about you guys start doing reaction videos or dissect dissecting some of the things that I say and asking the people if they agree with it, various things of that nature. I got so much going down the pipeline. Listen, 2026 is going to be an amazing year. We're just breaking February. But as I could say just right now, just know, space juice, space juice, space juice. That's it.